You ever notice how some people seem fine until you really look at them? Like, actually look. They're laughing at the party, making everyone comfortable, cracking jokes that land every time. But there's something underneath, a sharpness, a heaviness disguised as humor, a way of holding themselves like they're always braced for impact. That's not paranoia, that's pattern recognition. And if you've been through too much, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People who've been through too much don't announce it. They don't walk around with their trauma like a name tag. Instead, they develop this quiet superpower nobody asked for. They can read a room in 3 seconds. They know who's lying, who's pretending, who's about to snap. Not because they're psychic, but because they've lived through every version of chaos, and their nervous system never forgot the lesson. It's like having a PhD in human behavior that you earned in the worst possible classroom. And here's the thing that makes it so strange. These are often the funniest people you'll ever meet. Not polite funny, dark funny. The kind of humor that makes you laugh and then immediately feel like you shouldn't have. Psychologists call this humor as a defense mechanism, but that clinical phrase doesn't capture what's actually happening. It's not just deflection, it's alchemy. They learned how to take pain and turn it into something that connects people, disarms tension, makes unbearable things suddenly breathable. Sigmund Freud wrote about humor being one of the highest forms of defense because it transforms suffering without denying it. He was right, but he probably never met someone who could make you cry laughing about their own devastation. There's this concept in psychology called post-traumatic growth, introduced by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun. It's the idea that people who go through intense suffering sometimes don't just recover, they evolve. They develop deeper empathy, stronger relationships, a completely recalibrated understanding of what actually matters. But nobody talks about the cost. Because yes, you become more emotionally intelligent. Yes, you see through people's masks. Yes, you understand pain in ways that make you an incredible friend. But you also become someone who can't do surface level anymore. Small talk feels like sandpaper. Shallow relationships feel insulting. You crave depth because you've been to the bottom and you know there's no point pretending the shallow end is interesting. If this is hitting home, do me a favor and drop a comment. Just say, I feel this, or share your own version, because I know a lot of you watching this right now are nodding along thinking you're the only one. You're not. People who've been through too much have this weird relationship with control. They either need it desperately, or they've given up on it entirely. No middle ground. Some become hyper-competent, organizing everything, planning for disasters that haven't happened yet, triple-checking locks and texts and outcomes. Others become almost reckless, like, what's the worst that could happen? I've already survived worse. Both responses make perfect sense when you realize their nervous system is just trying to answer one question: how do I make sure I never feel that powerless again? The autonomic nervous system, the part of you that handles stress without conscious thought, gets rewired by trauma. Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory explains this beautifully. When you've been in survival mode long enough, your body starts treating safety like a luxury it can't afford to believe in. And relationships? That's where it gets complicated. People who've been through too much are intensely loyal, but also terrified of depending on anyone. They'll show up for you at 3 in the morning without hesitation, but asking for help themselves feels like swallowing glass. They love hard, but leave first, or stay way too long in situations that are clearly wrong because they've survived worse and pain feels familiar. They're attracted to depth and repelled by vulnerability. They want someone who gets it, but they're afraid of being fully seen because being seen means being known, and being known has historically meant being hurt. There's this beautiful, brutal contradiction at the center of it all. They're some of the strongest people you'll ever meet, and also some of the most wounded. They can hold space for everyone else's pain, but struggle to acknowledge their own. They've built walls so high, they forgot they're also a prison. And the worst part? They're so good at functioning that nobody realizes they're barely holding it together. High-functioning trauma is invisible until it's not. Here's what nobody tells you about going through too much. It doesn't just change what you've experienced, it changes who you are at a cellular level. Your emotional range gets deeper, your tolerance for nonsense gets lower, your ability to spot inauthenticity becomes almost annoying because now you can't unsee it. You become someone who needs meaning, craves honesty, and has zero patience for performative emotion. You've seen behind the curtain. You know what people look like when they break. And once you know that, once you've been that, you can't pretend the performance matters anymore. But there's also this. You become the person others come to when their world falls apart. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've sat in the dark and you know it doesn't last forever. You become living proof that surviving is possible, that you can walk through hell and come out the other side still capable of love, still able to laugh, still fundamentally you, but deeper, scarred but not broken, changed but not destroyed. If you've made it this far and you're feeling seen right now, subscribe. Seriously, this channel is for people who think too much, feel too deeply, and have been through enough to know that surface-level content is a waste of time. We're building something here for those of us who need our psychology raw and real. People who've been through too much aren't damaged. They're translators. They speak both the language of light and the language of dark, and they can move between them without flinching. They've earned their emotional intelligence in the currency of pain. And while nobody would choose that tuition, it creates a kind of clarity that can't be taught. They see people not as they pretend to be, but as they actually are. And sometimes, on good days, they see themselves that way too. You didn't ask to become this perceptive. You didn't sign up for a nervous system that treats calm like a threat. But here you are, sharp, funny, tired, capable of extraordinary empathy and extraordinary distance, sometimes in the same breath. You're not too much, you've just been through too much. And the fact that you're still here, still trying, still finding reasons to laugh and love and show up, that's not weakness, that's warfare. That's you refusing to let what happened to you define what you become. So keep going, keep translating pain into connection. Keep using that dark humor to make people feel less alone. Keep being the friend who shows up even when you're falling apart. Because people like you, people who've survived too much and somehow stayed soft in the center, you're not common, you're necessary. And the world needs your specific kind of strength, the kind that knows how to break and still chooses to build.